What's up, everybody? My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko When They Cry Answers Arc. Last episodes, we read the hints from Bernkastel's game and saw Battler and Beatrice's reasoning for it, and, well, it was about what I expected, but hey, at least we saw what was basically the proper way to figure out the mystery instead of just blindly trusting Maria or Ange. But either way, then we continued with Chapter 8, and frickin' goats, that's basically it. Ronave almost died, and then Will and Twanna are just like, oh shit, we do mystery stuff, we can kill the mystery ones. Because apparently an illusion can kill fragment goats if the fragment goats say that it was mystery, even though they're illusions, and they could just be like, you don't exist. And then they're like, shit, but whatever. I don't know how that would work anyways, but whatever. Regarding the episode 8 manga, according to a comment I got last episode, it's actually a couple comments I've been getting. It's extremely different from chapter 8 here, because it doesn't ditz around the answers, like who is the culprit, how are the crimes committed, stuff like that. So it has a lot more really good and just touching scenes in the manga compared to here, which I don't know if that's the reason why Chapter 8's considered controversial, just because the manga's better or something. I don't know. Maybe we haven't even gotten to the controversial parts, because everything so far this chapter's been pretty good, honestly. Other than Ange being, you know, whatever. Either way, let's just jump back into this. I don't know who's talking, but it's either Hachijo, Ange, or Amakasa. I'm gonna assume Hachijo. And then, you see, we'll set it up so that, among the works entered in Company X's mystery novel contest, yet another one of the great Hachijo's works will appear under a false name. Okay, I don't know who's talking. Of course, we'll then move on with a movie version and a TV drama bundled in. We here at Company X would be honored to accept your manuscript. This is something. Am I getting prize money out of this? Okay, so she's on the phone with some company man. But of course! The 10 million yen prize for Company X's first mystery novel contest will all go to you, and much more besides! Splendid. You've caught my interest. That's why I've decided not to write up a manuscript for you. What? Madam Hachijo, why? Everything had seemed to be going so smoothly up until then, so the sudden refusal made the people from the publishing company fall over in their sofa. This little scheme of yours is far more interesting than a manuscript I wrote. In that case, it wouldn't be fitting to hand it over to you. It was always a worthless story. I wanted to lure my ignorant readers into lauding it, making them feel as though they'd performed some magnificent reasoning. I was hoping that you children of men would recognize the irony and laugh at your own mistake, but it looks like you've taken it seriously. Yes, I can say I'm ashamed at my own failure as a writer. Of course not! Please forgive us! Please, let us use your... I have no need for money, but some pet food would be nice. Pet food? Oh, for your cat! There was a rumor that you had a cat who liked dried plums. Huh. Oh. Okay. Yes, as you wish. Is that Bernkastel's vessel, then? I didn't know Voyager witches could have a vessel. Quickly, let's have a high-quality assortment of dried plums brought in here. She only eats the ones that are packaged separately at 200 yen apiece. At this rate, she'll die of high blood pressure. She snacks on kimchi and spicy miso all the time, too. Really, there must be something wrong with that cat's tongue. Meep. The cat meowed in an objection from where it lay on top of the bookshelf. I cannot give you this manuscript, but why don't I write up a new one for your company's contest? However, I won't write it under my name. It's estimated that thousands of manuscripts will be sent in for your contest. If you manage to pick mine out from the pack, and if you also find it deserving of the prize, then I would be happy to continue our discussion just now. How does that sound? Ah! Just the honor of receiving your manuscript is more than enough. You people truly are amusing, fawning and cringing all the time. But I've grown weary for this today. Leave now? Meeting with children of men can be so tiring. Haha! We're deeply grateful for your kindness in allowing us this meeting. Oh, is she not on the phone? They're just here? Okay. The servant guided the people from the publishing company to the door. In the study that was now finally quiet, Hachijo Toyo let out a sigh, slumped down in the sofa, and gazed at the ceiling. Are we gonna have any clues to my theory that I made 2 episodes ago? It is tiring, but the stimulation of talking with a child of man isn't such a bad thing in small doses. It's good for you to talk to people every now and then. You'll go see now if you stay shut in all the time, so this is the servant. The black cat leapt from the bookshelf and landed softly on the carpet. Then its form silently twisted and became that of Bernkastel. Okay. Indeed. They certainly can be entertaining. Inviting them over now and then may go a long way towards alleviating my boredom. At any rate, I think I will write that manuscript when I feel like it. Sounds like they'll even bring a gift for you. What's all this about pet food? Maybe that wasn't the servant talking. Maybe it was Bernkastel? I don't know. How rude. Well, that's what it is. Here. Hachijo picked up a jar from the shelf, then took a dried plum out and threw it into the air. In an instant, Bernkastel turned back into a black cat, caught it in midair, and started munching away. Oh, maybe it was the servant. Madam Hachijo, your guests have departed. A servant knocked on the door before making this announcement. A servant implies there's multiple, I guess. Thank you. Let me know if that one wakes up. As you wish. Would you like some tea? No, I'm going to write for a bit. Please do not disturb me. Yes, ma'am. After waiting for the servant's footsteps to disappear into the distance, Hachijo moved to her desk. The desk certainly looked as though it belonged to a great writer, with pages of manuscript scattered across it. Even though the century's almost over, you still write with a pen? Oh, that was Bernkastel. Ah! The black cat spoke as it tore the dry plum apart with its mouth. Tales are to be written with ink. To me, that is an unbreakable rule. So you write it once with ink, then type the whole thing over again with a keyboard. Pretty stupid doing the same thing twice. No food for you, then. In that case, why does a child of man drop a tale in their mind, and then spit the whole thing out again on a keyboard? How foolish of them to do the same thing twice. Look at it that way, and you're doing the same thing 3 times. That was a good one. Even as Hachijo laughed, her fountain pen was already sliding across the page. Beautiful letters appeared almost as fast and proficiently as a typewriter. Only humans called her creations manuscripts. With her fountain pen and writing paper, she was creating a world. As she did, the hands of the clock would spin around like a top. The light and shadows that came in through the window changed their angles so fast, they might have been the hands of the clock themselves. Slowly, she drew a large X across the tightly packed words on the paper. Having trouble? I can't draw it out well. Writing a manuscript to please people is truly a pain. I'm not doing the bit. After all, I don't usually write for other people to read. You should try writing down whatever it is you're saying on that manuscript paper. Bernkastel curled up on the sofa, a mocking smile on her face. Normally, whenever Hachijo was writing, Bernkastel would never let herself be noticed, much less talk to her. However, Bernkastel realized that the other was apparently getting bored with her manuscript, so she yawned and started talking. What is it you're writing anyway? A tale to give to a child of man. Which child of man? It's a tale I promised to write for Miko who once read for me. Ah, you're still writing that. I can't think of anything to write that would give her satisfaction. Looks like Ao's giving up yet again. You always promise to write a story, then get stuck before you're finished and give up. If I had given up, I wouldn't be worrying over it like this. There's only one tale that Ange's wanted from the beginning. The tale of the single truth. Ange said she wanted to know what happened that day.
No matter how many tales you write distorting the truth, she'll never be satisfied.
And yet I do think my tales are far more interesting than the single truth.
And she doesn't want to read an interesting tale.
I promised that child of man that I would write a tale for her sake, so I'm writing a tale to please her.
No matter how interesting or uninteresting it is, everything you write is an illusion. Ange doesn't want any of that. Haven't you figured that out yet?
The Book of the Single Truth was written by Ushiromiya Eva. Hidden amongst the pile of writing paper was Eva's diary. Oh. Furthermore, the one who wrote this passed away without revealing it to anyone. Being the humble writer that I am, I would like to respect that.
Don't make me laugh. Is this coming from the person who entertains herself by taking a tale and tearing out its guts?
The truth is uninteresting.
Is that your opinion after tearing apart the guts of so many tales?
You might as well say that. With a self-mocking laugh, Hachijo set down her fountain pen. I certainly have aged. The first thing age taught me was that not knowing is more precious than knowing.
That definitely sounds like something an old person would say, but I'll bite. What do you mean?
Knowing and not knowing. To be or not to be. These two things have a one-way relationship.
True. It's possible to switch from not knowing to knowing, but you can't do it the other way around.
When I realized that, I saw the noble purity resembling virginity that exists in not knowing. In my attempts to escape boredom, I've torn apart and eaten the guts of as many games and tales as there are stars in the sky. But always, my relief from boredom is short-lived. It's also fleeting that I've started to ignore each tale as an individual story.
That's right. If you eat a cat, then you only get to enjoy it for one night. But if you let it live, it might start calling you names and getting sarcastic.
Indeed. Even the annoying way they break into your sweets cupboard or sneak into your bed can be part of their charm. Hachijo looked at the books covering every square inch of the room, then softly petted the cat's back. I might have been able to enjoy a single tale much longer and much more deeply. As I've eaten my way through countless tales to escape boredom, I haven't really been eating them. I've just been killing them, and in the end, they'll kill me back. Hachijo laughed with self-derision.
Even in Bato's game, you tried to tear the guts out.
I just wanted to check my answers. I did try to do it in a way that respected Beatrice, the weaver of this tale.
Yeah, I think it was pretty well read. All done so that people who didn't understand wouldn't figure it out.
Will it make for a better tale if Ange learns the truth, or if she doesn't? To be honest, I don't know anymore. So fully aware that you'll scorn me for it, I've decided to stop writing the rest of this tale.
What do you mean?
I won't write it. I will merely record it. The tale that Ushiromiya Ange weaves herself.
So you're going to do that sort of thing again?
After growing tired of 1,000 years of life, I've decided that choosing not to know the truth is the more noble path. However, I now see that it isn't fair to force my opinion on Ange, who hasn't lived even 100 years.
So, you're going to leave it in Ange's care?
Yes, I will silently record it as it plays out.
If you're leaving it to Ange, then the rest of this tale is pretty much set in stone, right?
So it would seem. Let it be so. After all, in the end, a tale that a child of man weaves for herself will be more fun than any story I could create.
In that case, why don't you lend a hand in Ange's tale? You've already given yourself a role in it, haven't you?
So is it my role to bring this tale to its conclusion?
Come on, that's no way for someone in Bato's game to talk. It's your job to tear the guts out of the cat box.
Hachijo chuckled, pushed aside the pile of writing paper, and picked up the Book of the Single Truth. Then she opened a locked drawer. This is what Ange desires. Perhaps this book's seal is fated to be broken. Ange will reach the single truth. The single truth will break the seal on the cat box, and everything will then be exposed to the light of day. And so all of those countless message bottles and fragments, made up of delightful imaginings, which have been scattered across the ocean of the internet, will fade away like foam on the sea. After all, even that person has surely tired of such fragments.
It's about time for that kid's journey to end too. Yes, let us accept this task. As the role demands, let's give this journey an end of the line. At that moment, there were sounds of someone in the hallway. The instant someone knocked on the door, Berncastle turned back into a black cat. Madame Hachijo, please forgive me for interrupting. It was the voice of Hachijo's servant. What is it? If it's a phone call, tell them I'm busy. It isn't that. Toya has woken up. Thank you. Prepare a light meal. Enough for the two of us. As you wish.
But she's Toya.
I think I was right. Hachijo stood up. Then she shut the open drawer and locked it again. Inside that drawer lay a glittering golden key. I figured that was it. How'd she get her hands on both of those? And now what? Back to Rokonjima? Okay. Oh, back to this shit. Repeat it! The definition of a closed room prevents all varieties of entering and exiting. I refuse! By definition, it's impossible for a closed room murder to take place inside a perfect closed room. The chain might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The door might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The wall might have been repaired after it was destroyed. My closed room doesn't involve anything being repaired. Good. This really is getting fun, Battler. Sorry, but I don't have time to play with you right now. I'm sorry too, but as a fellow Witch of Truth, I can't let you get in Ange's way. Come to think of it, you're a Witch of Truth too, aren't you? I guess that makes you a sort of mentor to Ange. The single truth! It is the supreme, the ultimate! Only a Witch of Truth can break down all barriers that stand between her and that truth. Is the single truth of yours really so important? There are lots of things in this world that aren't worth knowing. How important is 1986 to Ange? Really? It isn't important at all. You're probably right. No matter what happened or didn't happen in 1986, it won't change anything for the Ange living in 1998. There's no point in learning that truth. However, there is just one thing that will change. What's that? How she lives. Erika transformed her reasoning into a scythe's blade and lashed out at Battler over and over. Battler also created a blade from his reasoning and attacked Erika over and over. In the middle of all this, he questioned Erika, the girl who, like Ange, called herself a Witch of Truth. And just what is the point of exposing the truth? You're right. Knowing often changes how a person lives her life. In that case, I have one hope as her blood relative. I hope that at the end of my game, Ange finds a better way to live her life. Knowing may change how people live, but not always in a good direction. There are plenty of things in this world that you'd be more comfortable not knowing. The number of ticks living in the seats on a train. Those urban legends about nasty stuff in the tap water. The world's full of things you'd be better off not knowing. The Book of the Single Truth can probably teach Ange what happened on this island. But what's the point of her knowing that? It'll just increase the sadness she's felt for 12 years. How many more years will it take for her to find happiness as an ordinary girl? How many years will it take for her wounds to be healed? Ange's desire to find the truth is hurting her, regardless of what the truth actually is. Though her deep wounds were slow to heal, they did begin to do so during those 12 years. However, Ange kept picking at the scabs. In her search for the truth, she tore at those wounds herself, opening them up once more. It's time for Ange to be free of the sadness of 1986. That's what all of us Ushiromiyas pray for. Who cares about that? The truth is everything. The truth is justice. It's a disease everyone gets at least once, usually in middle school. They just love to find out all those things adults are hiding. But don't you think it's fun to expose things like that? Yeah, totally. Reading dirty books wouldn't be nearly so fun if you didn't have to do it in secret. There's a second set of quotation marks after that, so I don't know if it's both of them, but whatever. Wahahahaha! Both of them looked confused. Okay, now Beatrice and Ange. I deny all of your blue wedges with the red truth.
None of the methods you suggest could defeat my closed room.
Ange was breathing heavily. Also, this frickin' song, it's crazy. The Book of the Single Truth was right before her eyes. If she could just defeat Beato, she'd be able to take the book to Burncastle, and then she could read what was inside. Even though the truth of the Final Family Conference on October 4th and 5th of 1986 was right there, the Golden Witch stood in her way. Her anger and hatred spun around inside her head, wiping out the composure necessary to theory-making. Ange shook her head several times, clearing away everything that got in the way of calming her mind. However, no matter how many times she thought it through, the closed room sealing her into chapel was perfect. Ange wasn't particularly familiar with the mystery genre. However, she knew about all the fragments containing Beato's game so far. Her knowledge was shallow, but it should still have been enough to give her a good foothold. However, no matter how many blue truths she shot at Beato, none of them even made the witch flinch. Beato just blew them apart with the red truth in an elegant wave of her pipe.
It's about time you gave up. I don't even view this as a game between the two of us.
Are you implying that I can never solve this puzzle?
I'm just buying time until Battler finishes dealing with Erika. He's the only one who can bring you to your senses.
Bring me to my senses? You're the ones making me do this by hiding the single truth. That's why I'm fighting you. This is my right. As a final member of the Ushiromiya family, I have a right to know the truth.
Indeed, and that is the purpose of this final game.
That's right. Without this final game, I wouldn't have been given a chance to reach the truth. At least for that one thing, I'm grateful.
But as for what happened in 1986, as for who took your relatives and your family away from you, as a human, your desire to know the truth is quite natural. However, even knowing this, Battler decided that it would be best if you didn't return to 1986.
I know what Battler's trying to say. He's telling me to look to the future and live instead of being stuck in the past, right?
Correct. Battler wanted to use this final game to show you that.
In that case, there's no need to keep waiting for my answer. The answer's no, Golden Witch. I died back in 1986. I've wandered about like a ghost for 12 years since then. And when Auntie Eva died, I lost my only reason to stick around on this earth as a ghost. That's why I decided to do one last thing before ending my life.
And that thing is learning the truth of 1986?
Yeah, got a problem with that?
Of course I do, you foolish girl. So if you do reach the truth, you'll die. In that case, I can't let you have it. I must trick you and blind you as much as I can to keep you alive. Battler wants you to live.
Living without truth is no better than dying. I'm trying to find the truth so I can live.
You just admitted that you were searching for the truth so you could die.
Yeah, that's right. Then let me rephrase that. I'm trying to find the truth so I can die. I offered up my life when I made my contract with Burncastle. Also, I could learn what happened that day. That single truth will be the souvenir I take with me to hell.
It's useless. You cannot break this closed room. This closed room is perfect. And yet I will kill you in this closed room.
She had tried every theory, idea, and every bit of nonsense she could think of. However, none of it had any effect on Beato. Powerless and frustrated, with the Book of the Single Truth right before her eyes, Ange bit her lower lip.
At first, this was supposed to be a game in which you were given a key. A key that would let you decide your future.
Liar. You want to hide the truth in this chapel, then make me choose a door that leads to some optimistic future. That's not a choice. You're trying to decide for me.
Parents have the right to prevent their children from making unsuitable choices.
I'm not a kid. I'm an 18-year-old woman who can think and act for herself.
Fool! You're just a 6-year-old girl who can't think of anything except the past.
And whose fault is that? Because of you, I've been stuck as a 6-year-old all this time. Now it's time for me to tear apart your illusion covering the truth. Yes, now I think about it, it's not this chapel that you've locked me inside. Since that day in 1986, for all these years, you've had me locked away in a closed room where I'm all alone, where no one will tell me the truth. And now, I'll tear your closed room apart with my own hands. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. I know the trick to your perfect closed room. Repeat it! You murdered me immediately after shutting me into this closed room.
I refuse.
Of course. You've been killing me for 18 years. Thanks, Beatrice. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have figured out the trick.
Ange, you are young and you have a long future ahead of you. In fact, you are the Golden Witch who lives in the future. Are you not? Then live on in the future. Just how much are past truths really worth? Don't they pale in comparison to the truth of the future? The truth you'll create yourself?
My life is trash.
Same.
My whole family died, leaving just me behind. That's why I'm going back to them once I've gotten my single truth.
If you learn the truth, you'll just have to accept your family's deaths. Haven't you ever thought about living on, hoping that by some miracle one of them might have survived? And that someday you might get a chance to see them again?
I'm not worried about that. Even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment like that.
In the Great Rokenjima explosion, almost none of the family's remains were recovered. Some days I hoped that this might be a sign that they had escaped the explosion and survived. That hope gave me the strength to live on. However, that hope wasn't strong enough to support me for 12 long years.
So, even though I wanted to know the truth, I unconsciously averted my eyes. I felt that learning of my family's deaths for certain would force me to deny any possibility of someone miraculously surviving. But I'm tired of living on, with nothing but that impossible hope of a miracle to keep me going. That's why I decided to accept my family's deaths. I decided to accept the truth no matter what it is. That's why I became a Witch of Truth.
How foolish to be blinded by the truth of the past and unable to see one's own future. Forgive me, Battler. I was not strong enough to guide your sister properly.
A blazing blue wedge appeared in Ange's hand. It was long, thick, and shaped like a spear. This is the end, Witch of 1986. This closed room is perfect. Therefore, I can't get out, and you can't lay a finger on me from the outside. However, you locked me into this room. So we can say you killed me with this simple trick. You shut me in this perfect closed room and made me starve to death. Since you intentionally did this, it's totally fair to say this is a closed room murder, with you as the killer. It looks like being overly vague with the cause of death backfired on you. So long, Witch of Illusions. See you in hell.
Okay. With the stained glass window behind her, Beatrice spread her arms and let the spear of the blue truth pierce her. The blue spear seemed to crucify Beatrice against the window.
Game set. So, this is Aunt Eva's diary, the book of the single truth.
Ange picked up the book from where it lay on the altar, sealed in crystal. If you read that, then by your contract with Berncastle, you will die. Learning the truth just to die? Ridiculous.
That's right. I'm looking for the truth so I can die. At least let me choose how I go. I'm not an idiot. I know the real me is still floating in that starry sky.
Berncastle acknowledged me as the final Beatrice and invited me on a journey to learn the truth of 1986. I won't be able to return here again. When Berncastle told me that and walked off the roof into the black sky, I followed her into the empty air. That was the contract. I wanted two things from Berncastle. One was for someone from my family to come back. The other was revenge. I wanted to destroy the illusion of the witch that hid the events of that day. I wanted to reach the truth. However, the first of my wishes couldn't come true. After all, even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment where my family came home.
Actually, I did, but the only one who survived was Kraus, and I don't think she cares too much about Kraus.
So she wordlessly questioned me. She told me that I couldn't reach the truth unless I had the courage to end this worthless life, where I lived like a ghost, hoping someone might come back. So she walked out into the open air and I followed her. Yes, now I can understand. When I offered to trade away my life, I made one wish and gave up on another. I wished for revenge against the illusion hiding the truth. And now I've succeeded in that revenge, defeating the master of that illusion and obtaining the book of the single truth. What I gave up was my naivety, my continuing belief that someone from my family might come back. And now I can accept that my entire family is dead. That's probably not the case though. Battler is alive, I'm assuming.
Can you make someone alive just because no one knows any different? These cat boxes you talk about are just naive delusions. The idea that a corpse can live as long as you keep it hidden. But even if you hide a corpse, it's still dead. Do you really think you can heal my wounds by saying they'll always be watching over me from the clouds? Like some kind of fairy tale? I'm Ange Beatrice, a witch of truth. I'll free myself from that life as a ghost, waiting for a miracle that'll never happen. I'll end my life as a noble martyr who's reached the truth.
Didn't you once come to understand the power of magic through Maria's grimoire?
Yeah, I understood it. And then I despaired when I realized how powerless it was. And that's what Battler's trying to force me to use now, isn't it? If I use magic, then my family will always be by my side. Don't take me for a fool! You think that kind of magic, an illusion, a daydream, can heal those 12 years? And how am I supposed to go on for decades and decades into the future? Someone, come back to me! Someone! But no one's coming back. So at least tell me what happened that day. Berncastle said she'd tell me. My master, I have the book of the single truth. I'll take it back to you, so give me the truth. For so long, I've been prepared to throw away my naive hopes for a miracle. Now, tell me the truth of that day!
The truth of that day is that stupid Goda theory from Chapter 2. A blinding light poured out of the chapel. It seeped from the windows into cracks of the door, even reaching as far as Battler's and Erika's eyes. What? Seems Comrade Ange has completed her task. It looks like you've set up some pathetic seal, but to my master, that'll be easier than thawing frozen sorry fish. Do you have to speak in a Russian accent? Shut up! Damn. Master said I could play with you until Ange finished her task. I've had enough fun from this reunion, so I think it's time for me to leave. Erika gave an elegant curtsy. Why did you talk Ange into looking for the single truth? Your master must know. That truth doesn't mean anything to Ange.
Yes, all truths in this world are meaningless. In the end, meaning comes from the mind of each individual human. Even when there is a single truth, it can mean different things to different people. The truth has no meaning in itself. There's just one reason why I'm still stuck on the truth despite it all.
Because you're the detective.
Good. But Ange isn't a detective. To her, the truth itself is the finish line. A way to mark the end of her unhappy life. Now she's finally finished the final purification ceremony. She's a one-night witch of truth. Focused on learning a certain single truth before she dies. A temporary witch for a short time, until she slams against the ground.
I won't let Ange die. No matter how tough it gets, she has to live. That's the only thing all of us want. If she lives, all sorts of magic and miracles would be possible.
If only you had put your arm around her shoulder and told her that directly, you might not have lost. What do you think? Just like hearing you howell, this level of reasoning is possible for Fruto Erika.
Live! Ange! He yelled towards the chapel, but Ange probably wasn't even there anymore. Battler's yell was swallowed by the empty pitch-black sky and the sea of rampaging goats.
Comrade Eva, our mission is complete. Let's withdraw. Shut up! Oh, are we done already? And I was just about to tear the island apart with my own Eva Cooper theory.
Eva appeared in midair and cackled.
Sorry, Battler, that I wasn't strong enough. For 12 years, I protected that kid in my own way.
I'm grateful.
However, she's decided this for herself. She's 18 years old now. Don't you think people should decide how they live their own lives?
Aren't you not an adult in Japan until you're 20? Sorry for being a doting big brother. And then the dog goes crazy.
Later. I'm Lady Berncastle's peace at the moment. It's time for me to let go. To go. I'll see you later, Comrade Eva. Stop that!
Eva held her palm open, and a small, pointy blue fragment appeared there. The fragment burst, and with a blinding flash of light, Eva vanished. It was the same light that had seeped out of the chapel earlier. Pieces cannot leave the game board.
However, the Voyager witches alone could come and go. This was probably some sort of magic that Bernkastel had given them. Erika opened her palm as well, and the same sort of fragment appeared there. That's enough for now, I think. Who knows? This might be the last time we meet. Wait. We haven't settled our fight yet. If he could steal the fragment in Erika's hand, he would be able to go to where Bernkastel was. The seal surrounding the Book of the Single Truth would probably be melted easily with Bernkastel's power. However, even so, it would take her some time. If he could steal that fragment, he could have a chance at bringing Ange back. What is there to settle? Time's up. However, if you feel like taking one last hit, I'd be happy to oblige. Battler had known that Erika wouldn't be able to resist the challenge. After all, he already knew what her trick was. He'd figured it out just a second ago. Even while he spoke with Erika, he had been thinking about it inside his mind. He could finish her with this last strike and take the fragment. Let's go, Erika. This'll decide it! This clash will be the last before I go. So go ahead and give me the craziest of your hilarious theories. Your closed room definition stated that the walls, windows, floor, ceiling, and chain were all unbeatable. That doesn't say door. However, there was one possibility that I didn't check because it was too ridiculous. And that was whether or not the chain could be set from the outside. Blue Truth. This is the answer to your closed room. The length of the chain. The chain for your closed room was extra long, so it's possible to set and unset it from outside the room. What a ridiculous answer. However, if you blindly assume that a lock made by an unbreakable chain makes a closed room unbeatable, then this truly would be a perfect closed room. The blue wedge flung from Battler's hand plunged straight into Erika's chest. As she winced in pain, her hand shook, and the fragment she held flew into the air. Your closed room definition stated that the walls, windows, floor, door, and chain were all unbeatable. However, wasn't there one really ridiculous thing missing? Oh, is this Erika saying this? Your closed room definition stated that the walls, windows, floor, door, and chain were all unbeatable. However, wasn't there one really ridiculous thing missing? Blue Truth! Your closed room had no ceiling, so it was possible to enter by climbing over the wall. Erika's blue scythe swung out from behind her back, catching Battler in the side as he stretched his hand out towards the fragment. Battler's hand didn't reach it. The fragment returned to Erika's hand once more. It looks like our tricks were equally ridiculous. The mystery nuts would have been furious, don't you think? But I disagree! To me, the process of exposing that ridiculousness is ecstasy. That's why I'm Furuto Erika, the detective. Damn it, you figured out the answer a while back, didn't you? Not true. I thought it up between the time you let loose your blue truth and the time you stretched your hand out to grab the fragment. I've just been buying time since the beginning. I only started reasoning a second ago. Erika broke the crystal barrier that surrounded them. Then she flew high up into the sky, looking down on Battler and laughing at him as she gave a final bow. So long, Battler. Even if this has been my only time to shine, even if I've outlived my usefulness and am about to be thrown back into the depths of oblivion, even so, I have no regrets. Wait! Like she'd actually wait just because I told her to. With a blinding flash, Erika vanished. Ange had retrieved the Book of the Single Truth and returned to Bernkastel. Battler and the others had no way to leave the game board. Everything had come to an end. But then Battler was just like, ha, good thing I used my protagonist powers to manifest a crystal that'll bring me exactly to where Bernkastel is. A gold butterfly flitted by and Beato appeared. My apologies, Battler. I let Ange get away. I'm sorry too. We've let them escape. It's all over. Battler had created this game for Ange. Now that Ange was gone, the game board no longer had any purpose. And even if that hadn't been the case, the game board itself had been chewed to bits by the goats. It was now like a single leaf floating on a sea of nothingness. Thanks to Gertrude and Cornelia Seals, the mansion was protected from the second floor up. The door to the Golden Wind was now open wide enough for a child to slip through. The smaller people, like Maria and Sakutaro, went through it.
My friend, I believe the door is opening at a quicker pace. Indeed. To my eyes as well, it seems to be so.
Father! Is the door open yet? It looks like they're about to break in through the windows.
Kraus, there is no need for you to fear. An Eiserne Jungfrau barrier is not so easily broken.
Very soon it'll be big enough for adults to go through too. Don't worry, we'll make it in time. But there's knocking and banging everywhere, and...
Stay calm and wait. After all, there is nothing else we can do.
Even the outer walls of the mansion were covered with goats, and they were plunging their fangs and fists into the walls and windows, trying to crush them. So anyone watching the goats stuck to all the windows in the hallway, smashing their thick arms against the windows, couldn't help but be terrified even if they knew about the barrier. However, anyone watching the group of goats gathered at the top of the big staircase on the other side of the barrier would probably feel a different emotion. Rather than terror, it was a sad, empty sort of emotion. The barrier was drawn across the landing at the top of the hall's great staircase. Beyond that barrier, everything had already been eaten away. Was it even possible for those who stood in the hallway of the upper floors to believe that this was the Rokenjima mansion? By now, no one looking at this scene would be able to imagine such a thing. Forget the hall or even the whole first floor, even the ground itself was almost gone. The sea of goats had eaten everything apart long before this. They had eaten apart the hall, the pillars of the mansion, the floor, the ground, the sea, the very concept of the island. Every part of the game board Battler had created. And now the only leftover was the upper part of the mansion, which floated along an empty space. How pitiful. To what do you refer? The goats, in their eagerness to chew this island apart, have eaten up even the ground they stood on, dropping themselves into nothingness. This had once been a huge entrance hall. Beyond it was a vast rose garden. There had been so many places to stand upon. However now, holes had been dug everywhere, and nearly everything outside the mansion was completely gone. Some goats were clutching to the few remaining footholds and pillars, still eating away at them. Let it be known that exposing the truth is murder. Why can't humans live without killing, I wonder? Throughout their long history, so many have prayed for miracles, but in the end, they eat up their own chances at receiving them, eating up the very ground they stand on and falling into the abyss. They saw a goat chewing the same pillar that was holding it up, which unsurprisingly, fell into empty blackness along with the goat. Humans are sad creatures, fated to live in order to learn. Oh, that was Leon. If learning means eating away at the same hopes and dreams that keep you alive, that would mean humans are born just so they can die. We're taught that we have to live. However, almost everything that we accomplish in life ends up killing us.
Don't think about it. You'll just get a headache.
As a single human, I want to ask, is learning a sin? Is living in ignorance the only way we can have hopes and dreams?
Both living with knowledge and living in ignorance have their benefits as well as their shortcomings. You're even free to choose which path you take. That's what makes humans powerless.
What people can learn, they cannot unlearn. And so, the all-knowing God has stepped in for the sake of humans who cannot unlearn, marking out things that should be learned and things that should not be learned. Too much curiosity can kill your hopes and dreams. Humans are pitiable beings who are unable to simply avoid those things which should not be learned. Lord Battler can hardly be blamed for failing to teach Ange this. And now Ange's gone. This game is over. Struck dumb by Will's words, everyone fell silent. Oh, that was Will. Only the sound of the goats eating everything away rang out hollowly. Even if they escaped to the Golden Land, the goats of emptiness would probably chew into that realm as well. Even if they got away for the time being, nothing would be resolved. It was all set in stone now. They had no way to resist the future's violent attempts to tear the cat box of the past open. In that case, we must stay alive. If a human's foolishness makes them throw away their own hopes and dreams in the end, then I want to believe in those things until the last second.
Your resolve is impressive.
I'm the one hope held by Beatrice's of a million worlds. So even at times like this, I have to be everyone's hope. I'm not giving up on this game yet. By which you mean... I'll keep waiting, believing in a miracle until the last second.
So you'll keep struggling on and on until it's all over?
That's right. After all, last time, when we were surrounded by that pack of terrifying cats, we were prepared for death, weren't we? But Lambdadelta saved us. If we had given up, if we hadn't had the strength to believe in a miracle, then I'm sure we would have been erased before help could come. Well, it's not like I really saved you. More like Byrne just failed to kill you properly. Or it might have been some whim of hers. A miraculous whim from the Witch of Miracles.
How long had she been there? Probably a while.
Lambdadelta was leaning on the handrail of the staircase eating popcorn. She held the cup of popcorn out, but Leon declined the offer. Battler told us. He said Ange made a contract by which she would learn the truth in exchange for her own life. Going by your conversation just now, that was no contract. After all, living and seeking the truth so they can die is what humans do anyway, right? In other words, Ange has spent all of her life trying to learn the truth. All Byrne did was shorten that time to a single instant. When Ange lost her hopes and dreams, she stopped valuing her own life. I don't even know who's talking, Leon. When Ange lost her hopes and dreams, she stopped valuing her own life. How can she be given hopes and dreams again? What can be done to help her find a reason for living? Are you asking me? I'm paper, right? God damn it. Double twisted curly super paper. I don't understand complicated stuff. After tossing the last bits of popcorn into her mouth, Lambdadelta threw the empty cup into the abyss of nothingness. No littering! Shut up! Byrne wasn't really pushing that kid to do something she didn't want. She was giving Ange a chance. Or should I call it a choice? Then Ange made the choice she wanted, appeared on the game board, and now, in her game against Battler, she's making her own choices again. From start to finish, Ange's game has always belonged to Ange. Right now, I'm just a casual observer.
So, not a particularly enthusiastic observer?
Maybe. It's a play with an obvious ending, so I've decided I might as well take my leave. You mean you'll stop watching a play just because you think you know how it'll end? Even though it might reach a climax you didn't expect?
Lambdadelta licked her salty fingers, but she wears gloves.
Then she stared at Leon challengingly and grinned. I know that Ange's game will end this way. I know Battler's feelings will reach her. She'll understand that he wants her to live in a better future, and she'll choose that fact of her own accord. I'm certain that's how this tale will end. Huh? Are you talking to me, the Witch of Certainty, and saying that the outcome is certain? That's right. I guarantee it. Ange's game won't end like this. So please, don't leave your seat. We won't leave either. There must be something we can do. And that will surely lead her to a better future. This tale will definitely have a happy ending. So keep watching until the end. I beg you. Even though I've already announced as the Witch of Certainty that this tale won't have a happy ending. The definition of a happy ending is something everyone watching gets to decide for themselves, right? For a while, there was a tense silence. With a confident gaze that seemed to be saying, "Are you serious?" Lambdadelta stared at Leon. However, Leon's eyes didn't even twitch. For some time, they both stared into the other's eyes without flinching. Ha! Suddenly, Lambdadelta let out a large sigh and stretched. Well, I have nowhere better to be. Sure, I'll stick around for a bit longer. If you give me some more popcorn, that is. I'm feeling like caramel flavor this time. If you come to the Golden Wind, we'll serve you as much as you like. Lambdadelta waved at them with a thin smile. No one was quite sure what this meant, but it apparently signified her surrender in her own way. Okay, if you'll guarantee your own flavor of happy ending with certainty, then I, the great Lambdadelta, will stick around for a while longer. See how big my heart is? As wide as Lake Biwa.
That's pretty thin, actually.
And as gentle as the Sea of Japan. That is a very rough sea.
Please allow us to speak.
It would seem she meant it the other way around. There was some muffled laughter. Lambdadelta is the witch who gives strength to those who possess unshakable willpower. Leon believed in a happy ending, and that certain enthusiasm might have been enough to earn a small miracle from Lambda. You'd better not let me get bored, okay? If you do, I'll leave right away. Of course. I'm sure Battler will be glad to welcome you as well. Leon understood. In order to fight back against Burncastle, who had taken Ange outside the board, they would need the power of another who was capable of leaving the board. Their last hope was to make sure Lambdadelta didn't abandon this game. However, judging by Lambdadelta's expression as she hummed to herself cheerily, actually asking her for help was probably going to be a problem. Look, Zepar! Everything from the first floor down is gone! What a spectacle! Not a sight you see every day. Those two are so important, you know? They matter now that Chapter 6 is over, yup. How have matters progressed upstairs? Ah, right, we came here to tell you that. Hey, everyone. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm gonna crack my back, or at least try to. There we go. My back has been stiff, because the last 3 days I've had a 9-hour shift. Ah! They say the door to the Golden Land is opened. Finally. Let us go. This place will not be safe for long. Everyone who had been sitting on the staircase got up.
I guess this is goodbye, Rokonjima the Beautiful. I knew you for 2 games, well, more like 1.5. And most of that first game I was in the chapel listening to Claire's story.
True. It may be a shadow of its former self, but this is the last time we'll see it, isn't it? What's with that gloomy attitude? Come on, show me, okay? Let's see a happy ending.
Okay. That was an interesting chapter. But I think scene, whatever it's actually called. I think my favorite part, though, was that servant just being like, Madam, Toya has woken up. But isn't Toya Featherin's vessel? Well, either way, I think I'm going to end this episode here. So if you guys liked this episode, video, whatever the heck I call it, be sure to press the like button, and if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!